What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to talk about plane crashes, so if you're a little squeamish about plane crashes, you gotta shut it off now. I'll see you at the next episode. When I think about a plane crash, these things are entirely preventable. How do we prevent human catastrophe? Things that are totally preventable through better communication. Let's go get started. This is Asiana 214. Now on a normal day, what you would see is the ghost plane above. But on this particular day, disaster. It was broad daylight, there was nothing wrong with the plane, there was nothing wrong with the weather. What was wrong? The pilots weren't communicating properly. Miscommunication is the cause of so many problems in the world, as the great Charlie Munger explains here.
Over-influenced by authority. You got a pilot and a co-pilot. The pilot is the authority figure. An idiot co-pilot would know the plane was going to crash. But the pilot's doing it and the co-pilot is sitting there and the pilot is the authority figure. 25% of the time the plane crashes. I mean, this is a very powerful psychological tendency.
Let's go back to Flight 214. It crashed just short of the runway on July 6, 2016 at San Francisco International. Why did it crash? The veteran pilot was new to flying the 777. He had a training pilot who was teaching him the ins and outs, sitting right next to him. The pilot could have called for a go-around, meaning he could have tried again and avoided hitting the ground, but at that moment, he didn't think he had the authority to do so. 3 people died because the pilot didn't think he was in charge. Plane crashes are some of the craziest examples of human psychology in high-stress situations. It turns out there are a bunch of reasons why they crash. Here's Malcolm Gladwell talking about the typical nature of such man-made disasters.
Plane crashes are overwhelmingly associated with errors on the part of the pilots, and not just 1 or 2 errors, but a typical plane crash involves 7 consecutive errors, each of which would not be sufficient to cause an accident, but in combination is enough to bring down the plane. They are overwhelmingly errors of communication. One pilot is supposed to tell the other pilot something and doesn't. Or he tells him something and he doesn't say it in a form that allows the other pilot to understand, right? In other words, when you look closely at plane crashes, what you discover is that they are overwhelmingly not technological or technical phenomenon, they are social phenomenon.
And if we know that, there are a bunch of fixes to be had. First, don't panic. You know that you're going to get punched in the face. And so when those errors actually start occurring, you spent money on the wrong marketing budget, you hired the wrong person, you're going after the wrong customer. It's okay. This is all a part of the plan. Don't let these mistakes compound. It might take 7 mistakes in a row to actually kill you, and all you have to do is prevent that from happening. Second, work on your relationship while on the ground. This is why it's so valuable to have team members and co-founders who you've worked with for a really long time. If you have trust with your co-founders, if you have trust with your employees, you can get a lot farther along because you're not going to be tripping over each other when you finally reach some sort of mistake or difficulty. Pilots have to be very truthful with themselves when problems actually occur. Be crisp about it. Did it happen, and what is the corrective measure? Communication error can happen in 2 ways. 1, not admitting that there's a problem to begin with, and then 2, not agreeing on how to address it. Being crisp about both of these things will help you correct these errors sooner. Finally, how do you deal with power dynamics? There's always going to be hierarchy in any sort of organization that you deal with. What that means for leaders is they have to be very careful when they pull rank. Remember, Munger said, 25% of the time, the co-pilot defers, even in the case of a catastrophic mistake by the main pilot. On the flip side, if you're a subordinate in these situations, speak up. Authority is a terrible reason to let the plane crash. Founders and CEOs might not have to make a decision in 10 seconds or less, and that's a good thing. Luckily, they have weeks, months, or sometimes years to course correct and fix a problem. Here's a clip from the movie Sully that brings it all home.
Can land runway 1 Teterboro.
We can't make it. We're going to end up in the Hudson. You got any ideas?
Terrain.
Unfortunately, no.
With a lot of great decision making and under a lot of pressure, this captain saved the lives of 155 people by ditching into the Hudson. This is what we're playing for. If we can make the right decisions, we can actually save ourselves from disaster. So whether you're a pilot flying a plane or a CEO running a company, it's clear there are many things you can do to prevent a horrible crash into the ground. Hope you liked this video. Please click like if you liked it. Please click subscribe to see more like it. Thanks a lot for watching. I really appreciate it. See you later.